Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing our reading wrap up for the month of July in 2025. So I read a lot of books this month. I read 14 books, which is a lot, and most of those were actually not audiobooks. I only had 5 of my 14 books were audiobooks, and all of the rest were digital or physical, though mostly they were digital books. I read a lot of arcs this month. I had quite a few arcs from NetGalley that I needed to read, and I also wanted to read because I was very excited about the fact that I got some arcs. So 4 of them were arcs from NetGalley. 1 is a physical one that is behind me right now. Overall, this month, I think it was good and so-so. Like a lot of highs, and then there were also some lows and quite a few books for this month. The first book that I read this month was the audiobook for Funny Story by Emily Henry. This book was totally fine. Let me remember the plot. This book follows our main character who recently had her fiance come home and reveal that he is in love with his best friend and is leaving her. And so our main character ends up moving in with the best friend's ex-boyfriend, and it's a funny story because how they met is like their exes fell in love with each other. Ha ha ha. Totally fine. I'm not a huge Emily Henry girl. My best friend absolutely loves Emily Henry, and I love that for her. But for me, it's just so-so. I don't really get anything special out of these stories. I honestly, that's really all I have to say. It was just kind of something to have playing as I like walked to work and stuff. I didn't have that many strong opinions or thoughts about it while I was reading it. And after, I don't remember any of the characters' names. I remember that there was a sister who was like kind of cool. And that's pretty much it. So the next book I read was The Crash by Freida McFadden, and that one was, again, totally fine. I said, I think in my last reading wrap up, that I decided to move on from Freida McFadden, and I do agree with that. This book was already on hold at the library, and I didn't realize that I still had the hold, so once it came through, I just went ahead and listened to it. Again, I don't remember the character's name. It's very forgettable, in my opinion. So this story follows a woman who is very heavily pregnant, like 8 months pregnant, I believe, at the time that the story is taking place. And she is currently going through a lot. Her child was conceived through assault, and she is dealing with the sort of like lawyer situation of trying to get the money and keeping it a secret and all of that. And while she's on her way to go visit her brother, she ends up in a car accident. And following the car accident, she is picked up by a man, seemingly to help her. He brings her home, and once they get to his house, his wife is mentally unwell and wants to take the baby. It's probably exactly the plot that you think it's gonna have. I did kind of like the twist at the very end. I thought it was a bit unexpected, but the plot overall was extremely predictable, to the point where I was like, okay, I could probably write this book myself right now. The characters were unlikable, and pretty much the entire plot revolves around miscommunication. And that is my least favorite thing to happen in anything ever. Any kind of book, any genre, I don't care. I hate miscommunication. And that's pretty much the basis for this plot. So yeah, I didn't enjoy this book. If you like Freida McFadden's other books, you'd probably like this one. I didn't like her other books, so I wasn't gonna like this one. I think I liked it more than a couple of her others, but it just wasn't for me. Okay, I'll go ahead and get into it. The next book that I read was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, or The Final Empire. Mine is just called Mistborn. I know it's also called The Final Empire. So for this month, I read the first 2 books, and I'm currently like a fourth of the way into the 3rd book of the original trilogy. I did take a break in between book 2 and book 3 because I felt like I needed to like reset my brain a little bit. But the first book, Mistborn, I really liked it, although I will say that part 3 dragged for me. Oh my god, it took me like a week to get through part 3. I thought part 3 was real boring. Not a week, it took me like 3 days. The part in the middle just was not my favorite. It was really boring to me. And I get it because it's setting up the entire rest of the series and you really need that part, but I was bored. So other than that, I love this book. Also, I did film a reading vlog reading this trilogy. So once I finish the third book, I will be having that out soon. So if you really want my like more in-depth thoughts, spoiler free, please wait for that video because I will be giving you more of my thoughts. I then also read The Wall of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is the book 2 in the Mistborn trilogy, and I did like this one more. It's more action-packed. It is a lot of politics, but politics that is interesting. It's not just like people bickering. It's like armies and war, and I find that interesting. I do like politics in my books, and so I really enjoyed the second book. I enjoyed it more than the first one. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed both books and I recommend both books, but comparatively I thought the second one was better than the first one. And I didn't give the first one 5 stars, which is probably controversial because everyone gives those books 5 stars. Hi, Bean. The next book that I read was The Bleeding Woods by Brittany Amara. I did not like this book. It is very much for a very specific kind of person. So basically the plot of this book, our main character has some sort of mental illness or something going on. We don't know what it is, but she takes these pills every single day in order to control it. And the one day in her life that she didn't take the pills, she killed her parents. And now it's like 20 years later and she's still dealing with the grief of that. She's running out of her pills and she's got like a strained relationship with her sister, etc., etc. So her sister, her friend, and her friend's younger brother all decide to like go on a trip somewhere together, some like camping trip. And on the way there, they get stuck in the woods, and there is an entity that lives in the woods, and it is attacking them and killing them and trying to take the main girl and like claim her as his own. And it sounds very interesting. The way it's written, not for me. Everything is written as a metaphor. Every line is a metaphor. It is so flowery and over exaggerated, and there's no just like plain text. Everything is written like it's poetry. And if that's the kind of writing that you like, you would love this book. But I did not. At some points it just got really boring or annoying, or there was parts where I was like, this entire paragraph was unnecessary. You're describing the woods again to me. I know what the woods look like. You've already given me 3 metaphors of what the woods look like. Why are we doing a whole paragraph on what the woods look like? If the concept sounds interesting and you are okay with this like very flowery metaphorical language, you might like it. It is also very graphic in the violent scenes. They're quite graphic, which was kind of surprising. I thought because of how flowery the language would be, I didn't think that the violence would be that bad, but it was pretty intense. That's The Bleeding Woods by Brittany Amara. So the next one I read was From Here to the Great Unknown by Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Keough, which is Elvis Presley's granddaughter. So this is a memoir from Lisa Marie Presley, which is Elvis Presley's daughter, and her daughter, Riley Keough. I did it as an audiobook, and I thought it was fine. It wasn't as impactful as a lot of the other memoirs I've listened to recently. I thought that the perspectives from the daughter were actually my favorite, like the granddaughter, Riley. Those were my favorite because I thought getting perspectives on Lisa's life from the outside was very interesting. I will say I would have liked more criticisms. I would have liked more like true introspection on the family. It felt like we were just listening to different stories, which is fine and that's interesting on its own. But Riley talks about how she knows so much about her mother's life because her mom would kind of treat her like a therapist. And she doesn't really kind of delve into that and how that's like really painful and harmful to do to your child. She's just like, yeah, I know everything about my mom. Sometimes that wasn't great. Okay, well, that was an opportunity to kind of reflect on that and that relationship you had with your mother and how that relationship might not have been very healthy. But I believe at the time that this book was written, it was actually like pretty close to when her mother had died. So I understand as well her like not being able to speak negatively about her mother so close to her death. Yeah, also it's not as much about Elvis as you probably think it's going to be. The first like 1/4 of it is Lisa talking about her life having Elvis as a dad, and then the rest of it is having children, all of her marriages, stuff like that. which I didn't know Lisa Marie Presley got married to Michael Jackson. I don't know if that makes me dumb. I don't know if everyone else knew that, but I did not know. Anyways, that was like interesting to hear that story about like their marriage and Riley just being like, yeah, I grew up hanging out with Michael Jackson. So some of it was really interesting, some of it was really cool, but I did think we could have used a bit more like introspection and a bit more criticism. The next was another arc from Nat Gelly called The Forest of Missing Girls by Nichelle Giraldes. And that one had a very interesting twist to it. I thought it was good. The tension at the end, it had me stressed. I actually genuinely didn't know how it was going to end, and it had me stressed out. I had to take a little break. This book is about this older daughter. She's in her like late 20s, I think, mid 20s. And she comes home after breaking up with her boyfriend and moving from LA, comes back home to live like somewhere near like the Appalachian or something like that, somewhere near like a forest. And she comes back home to her perfect mother and her like annoying teenage little sister and her absent father. She kind of is like reestablishing her life. And in this forest for the past as long as the daughter can remember, girls have been going missing. And they're all completely different ages, different appearances, going missing at different times of the day. Sometimes 2 girls will get taken within 2 days, and sometimes it takes years, and then suddenly a girl goes missing, and no one ever knows what happens to them. One of the first nights that she is back, her little sister's best friend gets taken. So it's her trying to figure out what's going on, if the suspicion that maybe like her mother might be involved, and what's going on with the woods, and trying to explore the woods some more. And it's quite interesting. There's some like fantastical magical elements to it. I really liked the relationship between the main character and her sister. It actually felt pretty realistic. I got tired of the mother after some time, but I did enjoy kind of how the story was revealed. And again, I liked the tension at the very end of the book. It stressed me out. It did. It stressed me out. Yeah, I recommend that one. I liked that one. Really quick, I'm going to mention that I started the Murderbot books by Martha Wells. I did them as audiobooks. It's about a robot that has broken its programming in order to essentially live like a person. I did the first 2, which is All Systems Red and Artificial Condition. I really liked the first one. I thought it was fun and interesting, and I thought that the character dynamics were interesting. Whereas the second one, I don't even really remember it that much. It was kind of nothing. The other mechanical character that we meet, that was fun. I did like that. But the relationships with the murder bot and like the other humans wasn't it was kind of whatever. I would have preferred if we had just kept the original group of people, but it is what it is. I plan on continuing that series. Again, the audiobooks are super short. I don't have that much more to say about it. It's a fun time. Really quickly, the arcs that I read in my recent arc reading vlog, which was House of Dusk by Deva Fagan, Warrior Princess Assassin by Brigid Kemmerer, and Breathe In Bleed Out by Brian McCauley. I went into quite a bit of depth in these in my vlog, so if you're interested, check out that video. But overall, my favorite of the 3 was actually Warrior Princess Assassin. This was like my 3rd highest rated book for this month, which was very surprising. If you want fun, silly, simple book, this is it. It comes out at the end of August. This is about 3 characters, a warrior, princess, and an assassin. The continent that they're living on, they are at war, and they're trying to build an alliance between 2 of the countries. And in order to make that alliance, we are getting the princess and the warrior married together, and the assassin is just like the princess's childhood friend. So that's Kai the warrior, Jory the princess, and Asher the assassin. This is also a throuple book, which is super fun. If you like throuples, check out that. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I had a fun time. Don't go into it expecting a lot, because you're not going to get it. Go into it expecting to have fun, and that's what you're going to get. House of Dusk was quite a complicated book. So House of Dusk follows 2 main characters, 2 separate POVs. We have the main character Sefri, or Seth. She was a former war hero who has turned into a priestess, and this sort of priestess situation. They are endowed with magic powers and specifically flame, and their job is to protect from the dead coming back to life or allowing the dead gods to sort of rise again. So that's Seth's situation. And then Yeneris is the other POV, and she is the bodyguard to the princess, and the king is just like a fuckhead. In Seth's POV, we're seeing these like monsters come back to life, sort of zombie-like creatures, and it's implying that this dead god is coming back to life, and Seth would like to prevent that from happening, so she's on a journey to try and figure that out. Yeneris is on a similar but unrelated journey of trying to stop the king from doing stuff with the dead god thing, and overall, I had a good time. It's an interesting read. The plot and the characters are dynamic. It's quite a diverse cast of characters. My only complaint with it was I didn't enjoy the world building. The world building is very much like learn as you go, and I don't like that kind of world building. I prefer a lore dump kind of world building. I was confused for like a really long time, and I would have preferred to just know what was going on. Oh, and I also didn't like Seth's romance plotline. I thought it was useless. Oh, also this book is gay. I don't know if I said that in my reading vlog, but it's gay. So, check it out. And then, again, Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian Macaulay. This is about a girl who went camping with her boyfriend in the winter in the wilderness, and she came down from the mountain. He did not. He died up there, and they lost the body, essentially. While she was trying to bring it back down, she lost it. And so she's still grieving. I think it's been 1 year, maybe 2 years since he died. And her best friend is like, hey, let's go on this like retreat, this like spa yoga retreat from this guy, this guru who has offered it to me. So they go on this retreat, her and her 5 other friends. No, it's 5 people total. So it's 4 other friends. And just slowly but surely they are getting killed off. This is a slasher horror book. I enjoyed getting the main character's POV and then switching to like the POV of the characters who were getting killed. I thought that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. I thought that the way that they died was really fun and silly. If you like slashers, you would really like this. For me, I thought it was too predictable, but I think that's just part of like the slasher genre, and I just think slashers aren't generally my favorite in the horror genre. I do have fun with them, but I never rate them that highly because they're always just kind of predictable, and I like books where I don't know what's going to happen. But if it sounds interesting to you and you like slashers, you would probably like it. And the next book I read was So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. This is a Disney movie retelling. This was one of my TBR jar pulls for this month. Unfortunately, this is the only TBR jar book I read this month. Oopsie. I got caught up in my arcs and Mistborn. But I really enjoyed this. So essentially, what happens in here is if Cinderella had never tried on the glass slipper, she goes to the ball, she comes home, and Lady Tremaine, her stepmother, locks her in a tower, and Cinderella is never able to try on the slipper, and no one knows it was her. She ends up getting a job working in the palace, and she uncovers a plot to kill the king. I really enjoyed this. If you like Disney, you would probably like this. It's still Disney, so although it sounds like it's like a thriller, it's not. It's still a Disney book. It's written very much in a way a Disney movie would happen. But if you like Disney, you'd probably like it. I will say I thought it was a really unique take on what might have happened, or if they had done like a second movie or something, I think it would have made Cinderella more interesting, because I think Cinderella is quite boring. I had a good time reading this. It's a very quick read. It's like 400 pages, but as you can see, it's like half the size of a normal book, and the text is quite large. So I read this in like a day. If you like Disney, if it sounds even vaguely interesting, you'd probably like this one. Okay, and the last one I read is probably as different as I could get. I read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I actually read this as a physical copy, but I lent it to my friend because it's our book club book for this month. I thought it was fine. I think that it's a good read and an important read, especially with all of the book bannings and everything that's going on currently in America, but it's very much a classic. Like, the way that it's written is written in the way that most classics are. It's a little bit flowery at times. It's a little bit drawn out when it doesn't need to be. I will say that the conversations were kind of confusing to me. Like, it felt like sometimes they were having two separate conversations. Like, a character would talk and then the other one would respond, but there was no, like, connecting pieces between what they said. But it's super short. It's like 150 pages. Definitely just read it. It's really not that bad. As far as classics go, I think it's probably one of the better ones. The plot is very simple and easy to understand. Even if the language is a little bit confusing at times, I promise you'll understand it. It's very simple. I also went and I checked cliff notes at the end of each part. There's 3 parts in the books, just to make sure that I understood everything and to see like any symbolism and stuff I might have missed. And I'd recommend doing that if you decide to pick it up and you're concerned that you might not get it. Just look it up on cliff notes after each chapter and read through that really quickly. Okay, that is all of the books I read in the month of July in 2025. So thank you very much for hanging out with me and letting me chat and talk about these books. If you've read any of these, please let me know your thoughts. If you are now going to read any of these books because of my review, please let me know. I would love to know that. I think if I was going to recommend any of these books in particular, I would recommend the Mistborn books, as well as Warrior Princess Assassin, and maybe The Forest of Missing Girls. The Forest of Missing Girls, I think, was the most unique of the books that I read. Maybe House of Dusk, but House of Dusk is a little bit more complicated to me. Forest of Missing Girls was a good time. Would you like to say goodbye with me? Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.